The moment Marcus Webb walked through the door of Coldwell Prestige Appraisals, the receptionist looked at him the way people look at a man who has wandered into the wrong neighborhood, politely, carefully, with a smile that said you don't belong here. He didn't care. He had a cracked leather satchel in one hand, his daughter's hand in the other, and nothing left to lose. "I have an appointment," he said. "Webb, 2 o'clock. She typed something, looked up. "Mr. Coldwell will be with you shortly." Nadia tugged at his sleeve. She was 9 years old, wearing a purple jacket with a broken zipper he hadn't gotten around to fixing, and she had her mother's eyes, wide and brown and full of questions. "Daddy, is this where rich people go?" "It's where we are going," Marcus said. "That's close enough." He hadn't always been this version of himself. 5 years ago, Marcus Webb was a man with a plan, a 3-bedroom house in the works, a wife he loved completely, and a small engine repair shop on Ashford Street that was just starting to breathe. Then the accident happened. Then the funeral. Then the medical bills that came after, which made no sense to him because Diane was already gone and he was still being asked to pay for the machines that couldn't save her. The shop survived. Barely. He survived the same way. Nadia survived the way children do, loudly and beautifully, with a kind of defiant joy that broke Marcus's heart every single morning when she came downstairs for breakfast and asked if she could have her hair done the way Mommy used to do it. He learned, he watched videos, he burned her edges twice before he figured out the sections. She never complained once. The necklace had come from a box in his late mother's closet, a box he hadn't touched in 3 years because opening it meant admitting that she was gone too. He'd finally done it on a Saturday night while Nadia was asleep, and he'd sat on the floor for 40 minutes just holding things. A scarf, a Bible with a cracked spine, 2 photographs, and at the bottom, wrapped in a square of burgundy cloth, a necklace. Heavy, gold-colored, an unusual pendant, a square piece of dark green stone framed in what looked like old metalwork, with markings on the back that looked like nothing he'd ever seen before. His mother had never spoken about it. No note, no explanation, just the necklace in the cloth. He'd taken it to a pawn shop on a Tuesday. The man behind the counter had held it under a light for 12 seconds and offered him $40. Marcus had taken the necklace back and walked out. A friend at the shop, Dree, who read too much and knew a little about everything, had looked at the photo Marcus sent him and said, "That stone looks like it could be jade. Old jade. You need a real appraiser, not a pawn shop." That was how Marcus Webb ended up in the lobby of Coldwell Prestige Appraisals, holding his daughter's hand, with a necklace in a satchel and 3 months of back rent sitting on his chest like an engine block. If you're new here, welcome to Dadverse Stories, the channel where real men, real struggles, and real triumphs come to life. If a story like this one moves you, hit that subscribe button right now. We drop new stories every week, and you don't want to miss what's coming. Now let's get back to Marcus. Gregory Coldwell came out of his office the way men come out of offices when they've already decided the meeting is a formality. He was 60-something, silver at the temples, wearing a suit that cost more than Marcus's monthly rent. He looked at Marcus. He looked at Nadia. He looked at the satchel. "Mr. Webb," he extended a hand. "Gregory Coldwell, come in." The office was the kind of room that was designed to remind you what you didn't have. A mahogany desk, glass cases with small sculptures, framed certificates and photographs with politicians and celebrities. Marcus placed the necklace on the velvet mat Coldwell set on the desk. The man picked it up, put on his glasses, turned it over, used a loop, set it down, took off his glasses. "Where did you acquire this?" "My mother, she passed 3 years ago." "Do you know anything about its origin?" "No, sir." Coldwell nodded slowly, the way people nod when they've already formed an opinion. "The metalwork is interesting. The craftsmanship is consistent with West African decorative jewelry, likely mid-20th century, possibly earlier. The stone has the appearance of nephrite jade, but the green is too dark, too saturated. It's more likely malachite or a form of African green serpentinite." He set it down. "Decorative value only. These pieces circulate in estate sales fairly regularly." Marcus felt the floor shift slightly under him. What would you say it's worth? Honestly, in the current market, between $800 and $1,200, perhaps $1,500 if you find the right buyer. But I wouldn't hold your breath. The demand for this category is limited. Nadia looked up at her father. He didn't look back at her. He was still looking at the necklace. You're sure, Marcus said. It wasn't quite a question. I've been doing this for 31 years, Mr. Webb. Caldwell handed the necklace back across the desk. I'm sure. Marcus drove home in silence. Nadia sat in the passenger seat with her seatbelt on and her feet not quite reaching the floor, watching the city go by. Daddy. Yeah, baby. Is the necklace pretty? He looked at her. Yeah, it's pretty. Then it's worth something, she said, and went back to looking out the window. He almost pulled over. He didn't, because he didn't want her to see his face. That night, after Nadia was asleep, Marcus sat at the kitchen table with the necklace in front of him and his phone in his hand. He did what he always did when something didn't sit right with him. He went looking for the thing that didn't fit. The markings on the back. Caldwell hadn't mentioned them once. Marcus photographed them and ran them through every search he could think of. He found nothing for an hour. Then he found a thread on an archaeology forum, buried 3 pages deep in a search, where someone had posted similar markings asking if anyone could identify them. The thread was 4 years old. There was one response, from a user named T.O. Simensa, that said, "These appear to be adinkra-adjacent symbols modified for use in trade sealing, a practice used by Asante goldsmith guilds in the 18th and 19th centuries to authenticate high-value pieces. If this is on a piece of jewelry, it may warrant formal examination." Marcus stared at the screen for a long time. Then he typed a message to T.O. Simensa, not knowing if the account was still active, not knowing if anyone would answer, knowing only that Caldwell hadn't looked at the back of the necklace for more than 4 seconds. He went to bed at 2 a.m. He didn't sleep much. The response came the next morning while he was packing Nadia's lunch. "Mr. Webb, yes, I'm still here. Can you send me more photos? Front, back, and close-ups of the metalwork edges if possible. I'm a curatorial consultant. This could be significant." Marcus's hands weren't steady when he arranged the necklace on the kitchen counter and took the photos. He sent 12 of them. He dropped Nadia at school and went to open the shop. He did 3 oil changes and a brake job and answered exactly 0 of Dree's questions about why he kept checking his phone. At 1:15, a message came back from Osimensa with a name attached, Dr. Theodora Osimensa, Associate Curator, West African Material Culture, the Harrington Museum, and 4 words that made Marcus sit down in the middle of the shop floor. "Where are you located?" She arrived 2 days later. She came alone, drove herself, and walked into the shop in a gray blazer and boots, carrying a case with a portable UV light and a loupe and a small reference catalog. She was in her early 50s. She shook Marcus's hand like she meant it. "Thank you for reaching out," she said. "I've been looking for pieces from this workshop for 11 years. She examined the necklace for 45 minutes without saying much. Marcus watched her. He'd sent Dree on a parts run, so the shop was quiet. The only sound was the occasional click of her instruments and the hum of the street outside. Then she sat back. "What do you know about the Asante Confederacy?" she asked. "Gold," Marcus said. "Ghana, West Africa, that's about it." The Asante were extraordinary goldsmiths, among the most sophisticated in the world. In the late 18th and early 19th centuries, certain guilds produced authentication pieces, not decorative jewelry in the Western sense, but functional artifacts that served as proof of origin for high-value trade transactions. Gold, ivory, cloth. She held the necklace up carefully. "This pendant is not malachite. The stone is chrysoprase, a rare form of chalcedony, high quality. And this metalwork," she touched the edge with a gloved finger, "this is not 19th century. This is 17th. Marcus heard the word, and it didn't land immediately. Then it did. 17th century. The symbols on the back are from a specific sub-guild that operated out of the Kumasi region. We have documented references to their work in 3 British colonial archive records and 1 Dutch trading ledger. But physical examples, she set the necklace down gently. Mr. Webb, there are 6 known pieces from this guild in the world. 4 are in museum collections in London, Amsterdam, and Accra. 1 was sold at Christie's in 2019 for $2.1 million. She paused. This would be the 7th. The shop was completely silent. Daddy. Marcus turned around. Nadia was standing in the doorway from the back office where he'd set her up with a tablet and a snack after school pickup. She was looking at the necklace on the workbench. I thought you were doing homework, he said, his voice not quite his own. I finished. She walked over and stood next to him. Is the necklace famous? Dr. Osai Mensah looked at Nadia and smiled. It might be, she said. We need to do some more testing to be certain, but yes, it might be. If this story is gripping you right now, drop a comment below. Tell us, what would you have done if Caldwell had told you to your face it was worthless? Let's talk. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? These stories are free. Hit subscribe before you forget. The next 4 days were a different kind of life. Dr. Osai Mensah arranged for the necklace to be insured, hand-carried, to a materials laboratory at a university 2 hours away, where a specialist in pre-colonial African artifacts conducted spectroscopic analysis of the stone and metallurgical testing on the goldwork. Marcus drove there with the necklace in a museum-grade case that Osai Mensah had provided, Nadia asleep in the back seat with her purple jacket balled up under her head. He waited in a hallway for 3 hours. The specialist, a quiet man named Dr. Ademi, who wore reading glasses on a chain and spoke in a voice like he was always explaining something important, came out with a folder and sat down next to Marcus on a bench. The stone is chrysoprase, he said, high saturation, minimal inclusions, consistent with materials sourced from the Sekia region of what is now Ghana. The goldwork alloy composition is consistent with Asante Guild production in the 16th to 17th century range. He opened the folder. And the hallmark symbols, we cross-referenced them against the Kumasi Guild registry documentation held at the British Museum. Mr. Webb, this piece is authenticated. Marcus stared at the folder without reading it. What does that mean in terms of value? Dr. Ademi removed his glasses. That depends on who you sell to and how. At auction, a major house, properly marketed, I would estimate conservatively between $3.5 and $5 million, possibly more if there is institutional competition. Museums will fight for this. Marcus put his face in his hands. He sat like that for a long moment. He heard Nadia's shoes squeak on the linoleum as she walked out from the waiting area and came to sit beside him. She put her small hand on his arm. Daddy, are you crying? No, he said, into his hands. Your voice sounds funny. He took his hands away from his face. His eyes were dry, barely. I'm fine, baby, I'm fine. She leaned her head against his arm and didn't say anything else, which was exactly right. He called Dree from the parking lot. You want to hear something unbelievable, Marcus said. I always want to hear something unbelievable, Dree said. Marcus told him. There was silence on the other end. Then Dree said, man, that pawn shop offered you $40. $40. And Caldwell told me $1,500, maybe. More silence, then quietly Dree said, your mama knew. Marcus leaned against the truck. The afternoon was cooling. Nadia had climbed into the back seat and was already on her tablet. What do you mean? She kept that thing wrapped up, never sold it, never showed it around, in a box at the bottom of her closet. Marcus, a pause, she was saving it. Marcus looked up at the sky. She didn't know what it was worth. Maybe not the number, but she knew it was something, and she kept it until there was somebody who needed it. He couldn't answer that. He stood there until the air stopped feeling so thin, and then he got in the truck and drove his daughter home. The auction was arranged through Harrington's partnership with a major international house, proper provenance documentation. a catalogue essay written by Dr. Osai Mensah herself. Pre-auction press in 3 art publications and 1 mainstream culture magazine that ran a half-page on the discovery of the 7th Guild piece. Marcus read the article at the kitchen table while Nadia ate cereal. The article called the necklace an extraordinary survival. It called its origins mysterious. It said the seller wished to remain anonymous. He had asked for that. He didn't want his name in print. Not yet. Not until Nadia was a little older and could understand what that kind of attention sometimes brought with it. The auction took place on a Thursday afternoon in a room Marcus was not physically present for. He watched a live stream on his laptop in the back office of the shop, with the door closed and Dree standing behind him in silence because Marcus had asked him to be there and Dree had shown up without a single question. The bidding opened at $900,000. Marcus stopped breathing somewhere around $2 million. It went past $3 million in under 4 minutes. There were 3 serious bidders. 2 dropped at 3.8. The last one, a European institution whose representative bid by phone, held on. The hammer came down at $4,600,000. Marcus sat still for a full 30 seconds. Then Dree put both hands on his shoulders from behind and said, "Breathe, man." He breathed. He didn't tell Nadia the number that night. He made dinner her favorite, jollof rice and fried plantains, a recipe he'd learned badly and improved slowly over 5 years, and they ate at the table and she talked about school and he listened to every word. He asked about her teacher. She said Mrs. Pearson was okay but talked too slow. He said that wasn't nice. She said it was honest. He said she got that from her mother. She went quiet for a second, then she smiled. After she was in bed, Marcus sat in the kitchen again. The same chair, the same table, the same man mostly. He thought about his mother's hands, how she used to wrap things carefully. He thought about Diane, how she used to say that things had a way of arriving when they were supposed to, and he used to laugh at her for that, and she used to look at him with those eyes that said you'll see. He thought about Gregory Caldwell and the 31 years and the velvet mat and the $1,200 estimate delivered like a verdict. He didn't feel anger. He'd expected to when this moment finally settled, but what he actually felt was something quieter and stranger, a kind of gratitude almost, because if Caldwell had seen what was there, Marcus would have sold it for whatever the man offered and walked out relieved. He wouldn't have gone home and looked at the markings. He wouldn't have found the forum. He wouldn't have sent the message at 2 a.m. The necklace had needed him to doubt, and he'd learned, in the hardest years of his life, how to keep moving when someone told him something wasn't worth anything. Don't go anywhere, we're almost at the end, and this next part matters. And if you've been watching this long, you already know this channel hits different. Like this video, if Marcus's story got to you, it helps more than you know. 3 weeks later, Marcus Webb walked into Caldwell Prestige Appraisals one more time. He didn't have an appointment. The same receptionist looked up with the same careful smile. "I'm sorry, do you have?" "I was here a few weeks ago," Marcus said. "Tell Mr. Caldwell it's the man with the necklace." She made a call. A minute later, Caldwell appeared in the lobby. He looked the same, the suit, the temples, the expression of polite authority. Then he saw what Marcus was holding, a magazine, the art publication folded open to the page with the photograph of the necklace. Caldwell's face did something complicated. "Mr. Webb," he said carefully. "I just came to say thank you," Marcus said. Caldwell blinked. "I'm sorry. You told me it was worth maybe $1,500. You'd been in the business 31 years, and you looked at that piece and told me to not hold my breath." Marcus held up the magazine. "It sold last Thursday, $4,600,000. The lobby was quiet. The receptionist had stopped pretending to type. "I could have been angry," Marcus continued, "but I'm not, because you not seeing it made me go find someone who did, so genuinely thank you." He put the magazine on the reception desk. "Have a good afternoon." He walked out into the sunlight, and the city was loud and alive and full of possibility, and the broken zipper on Nadia's jacket was going to be fixed by the end of the week, and the back rent was already settled, and the shop on Ashford Street was going to get a new compressor and a new sign and maybe a second bay. And somewhere in the future that was now actually possible, Nadia Webb was going to go to whatever school she chose, in whatever city she wanted, and do whatever she decided to do with those wide, brown eyes and that honest mouth and that fearless ability to say what was true. Then it's worth something. That's what she'd said about a necklace in a cracked leather satchel, sitting in the office of a man who'd already made up his mind. A 9-year-old girl in a purple jacket with a broken zipper. The smartest appraiser in the room. And that right there, that is the whole story. If this hit you somewhere real, leave a comment. Tell us which moment got to you. The pawn shop, Caldwell's face in the lobby at the end, or Nadia on that bench, putting her hand on her father's arm and not saying a word. We read every single comment on this channel. Subscribe to Dadverse Stories if you haven't already. It's free, it takes 2 seconds, and we are just getting started. Marcus's story is one of many. There are fathers out here every single day carrying things nobody sees, building something out of nothing, getting told their best isn't worth much, and proving, slowly and quietly, that the people who said that were wrong. Hit the like button, share this with someone who needs to hear it today, and we'll see you in the next one.